And God is not somewhere above in the heavens. He is here now, in the trees, in the rocks, in you, in me, in everything. God is the soul of existence, the invisible, the innermost core. The inner is dancing with the outer. The sublime is dancing with the profane. The holy is dancing with the unholy, and the sinner is dancing with the saint. Once you have become one, suddenly all duality disappears. That's why I say a really wise man is also a fool. Has to be, because foolishness and wisdom dance together. And a really sage person, a real saint, is also a rascal. Has to be. It cannot be avoided. God and the devil are not two. Have you ever thought about the word devil? It comes from the same root as divine. They belong to the same root. They both come from a Sanskrit root, diva. From it comes deva. From it comes divine. From it comes devil. Deep down, the tree is one. Branches are many, moving in different dimensions, directions. Leaves are millions. But the deeper you go, you come to one tree. When you are in a dance, everything dances with you. Yes, the old saying is true. When you weep alone. When you laugh, the whole world laughs with you. When you are miserable, you are separate. Misery separates you. Separation makes you miserable. They are together, they are one package. Whenever you are miserable, you suddenly become separate. That's why the ego cannot afford to be happy. Because if you become happy, the ego cannot exist. You are no longer separate. The egoist cannot afford to be ecstatic. How can he afford to be ecstatic? Because in ecstasy, the ego will not be there. That is too much. He would rather remain miserable. He will create 1,001 miseries around him just to help the ego to be there. Have you watched it? When you are really happy, your ego disappears. When you are really happy, suddenly, you have a deep feeling of being at one with the whole. When you are miserable, you want to be alone. When you are happy, you want to share. When Buddha was miserable, he went to the forest, escaped from the world. What happened after 6 years? When he became ecstatic, he came back to the marketplace. Whatsoever he has attained has to be shared. In misery, you are like a seed. In ecstasy, you become a flower, and your fragrance, of course, has to be released to the winds. You can watch it in your life also, in a small way. When you are unhappy, you close your doors. You don't want to see your friends. You don't want to go anywhere. You don't want to participate in anything. You say, leave me alone. Please leave me alone. When somebody becomes very, very unhappy, he commits suicide. What is the meaning of it? What is suicide? Suicide is just an effort to go so far away from the world that one cannot come back. It is moving into loneliness absolutely, irrevocably, so that you cannot come back. That's what suicide is. Have you ever heard about any man committing suicide when he was happy, when he was ecstatic, when he was dancing? No. When the dance arises, you burst forth, you throw your doors open, you call your friends, you call your neighbors, and you say, come, I'm going to give a feast, let us dance, and let us have a little fun. I have much to share, and I would like to give it to you. And whoever comes to your door, you greet them, you welcome them. Everybody is welcome in the moments when you are happy. When you are unhappy, even those who have always been welcome are no longer welcome. If you dance, the whole of existence becomes a dance. It is already a dance. Hindus say it is a ras, Leela. God is dancing. And around God, the stars and the moon and the sun and the earths are dancing around God. This is the dance that is continuously going on, but you will know it only when you learn the ways of dance, the language of ecstasy. During the Second World War, there was a soldier who would drop his rifle on the battlefield and run to pick up any little scrap of paper, would examine it eagerly, then sorrowfully shake his head as the paper fluttered to the ground. Hospitalized, he remained mute, his compulsion obscure and intractable. He wandered forlornly about the psychiatric ward, picking up scraps of paper each time with discernible hope, followed by inevitable dejection. Pronounced unfit for service, he received one day his discharge from the army, whereupon, receiving the discharge form, he found his voice. This is it, he cried in ecstasy. This is it. Ecstasy is the ultimate freedom. And then one simply shouts in joy, this is it, this is it. Eureka! I have found it. And the irony is that you need not go anywhere to find it. It is already there. It is your very core, your very being. If you decide to find it, you can find it this very moment. It does not need a single moment's postponement. An intense thirst can open the door. Great urgency can right now make you free. Misery has many things to give to you that happiness cannot give. In fact, happiness takes away many things from you. Happiness takes all that you have ever had, all that you have ever been. Happiness destroys you. Misery nourishes your ego, and happiness is basically a state of egolessness. That is the problem, the very crux of the problem. That's why people find it very difficult to be happy. That's why millions of people in the world have to live in misery, have decided to live in misery. It gives you a very, very crystallized ego. Miserable you are. Happy you are not. In misery there is crystallization. In happiness you become diffuse. If this is understood, then things become very clear. Misery makes you special. Happiness is a universal phenomenon. There is nothing special about it. Trees are happy, and animals are happy, and birds are happy. The whole of existence is happy, except man. Being miserable, man becomes very special, extraordinary. Misery makes you capable of attracting people's attention. Whenever you are miserable, you are attended to, sympathized with, loved. Everybody starts taking care of you. Who wants to hurt a miserable person? Who is jealous of a miserable person? Who wants to be antagonistic to a miserable person? That would be too mean. The miserable person is cared for, loved, attended to. There is great investment in misery. If the wife is not miserable, the husband simply tends to forget her. If she is miserable, the husband cannot afford to neglect her. If the husband is miserable, the whole family, the wife, the children, are all around him, worried about him. It gives great comfort. One feels one is not alone. One has a family, friends. When you are ill, depressed, in misery, friends come to visit you, to solace you, to console you. When you are happy, the same friends become jealous of you. When you are really happy, you will find the whole world has turned against you. Nobody likes a happy person, because the happy person hurts the egos of the others. The others start thinking, so you have become happy, and we are still crawling in darkness, misery, and hell. How dare you be happy when we all are in such misery? The world consists of miserable people, and nobody is courageous enough to let the whole world go against him. It is too dangerous, too risky. It is better to cling to misery. It keeps you a part of the crowd. Happy, and you are an individual. Miserable, you are part of a crowd. Hindu, Mohammedan, Christian, Indian, Arab, Japanese. Happy, do you know what happiness is? Is it Hindu, Christian, Mohammedan? Happiness is simply happiness. One is transported into another world. One is no longer part of the world the human mind has created. One is no longer part of the past, of the ugly history. One is no longer part of time at all. When you are really happy, blissful, time disappears, space disappears. Albert Einstein has said that in the past, scientists used to think that there were two realities, space and time. But he said that these two realities are not two. They are two faces of the same single reality. Hence he coined the word space-time, a single word. Time is nothing else but the fourth dimension of space. Einstein was not a mystic, otherwise he would have introduced the third reality also. The transcendental, neither space nor time, that too is there. I call it the witness. And once these three are there, you have the whole Trinity. You have the whole concept of Trimurti, three faces of God. Then you have all the four dimensions. The reality is four-dimensional, 3 dimensions of space and the 4th dimension of time. But there is something else which cannot be called the 5th dimension, because it is not the 5th really. It is the whole, the transcendental. When you are blissful, you start moving into the transcendental. It is not social, it is not traditional. It has nothing to do with human mind at all. Your question is significant. What is this attachment to misery? There are reasons. Just look into your misery, watch, and you will be able to find what the reasons are. And then look into those moments when once in a while you allow yourself the joy of being in joy, and then see what differences are there. You will notice a few things. When you are miserable, you are a conformist. Society loves it, people respect you, you have great respectability. You can even become a saint. Hence your saints are all miserable. The misery is written large on their faces, in their eyes. Because they are miserable, they are against all joy. They condemn all joy as hedonism. They condemn every possibility of joy as sin. They are miserable and they would like to see the whole world miserable. In fact, only in a miserable world can they be thought to be saints. In a happy world, they would have to be hospitalized, mentally treated. They are pathological. Look into your misery and you will find certain fundamental things. It gives you respect. People feel friendlier toward you, more sympathetic. You will have more friends if you are miserable. This is a very strange world. Something is fundamentally wrong with it. It should not be so. The happy person should have more friends. But be happy and people become jealous of you, they are no longer friendly. They feel cheated. You have something that is not available to them. Why are you happy? So we have learned down the ages a subtle mechanism to repress happiness and to express misery. It has become second nature. You have to drop this mechanism. Learn how to be happy and learn to respect happy people and pay more attention to happy people. This will be a great service to humanity. Don't sympathize too much with people who are miserable. If somebody is miserable, help but don't sympathize. Don't give him the idea that misery is something worthwhile. Let him know perfectly well that you are helping him. But this is not out of respect. This is simply because you are miserable. And you are not doing anything but trying to bring the man out of his misery, because misery is ugly. Let the person feel that the misery is ugly, that to be miserable is not something virtuous, that he is not doing a great service to humanity.